An armed group linked to Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for the killing of more than 100 soldiers in Burkina Faso earlier this week. The attack took place in Mansila, near the border with Niger. Gunmen stormed an army base there. The group says its fighters seized control of it, along with vehicles, weapons and ammunition. It's one of the deadliest attacks the army has suffered. The military governments in Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali have all struggled to contain violence in the Sahel region. Ulf Laessing is head of the Sahel Program at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. He joins me now live from Bamako in Mali. Good to have you with us. So what does this incident with such large casualties tell us about whether the government is losing ground to the Al-Qaeda affiliates?
Yeah, the government forces are fighting more. I mean, they've started an offensive, but they don't rely much on professional soldiers. You know, they recruited 50,000 volunteers, many of which got only a short period of training. So they're kind of vulnerable to, making losses. And it's not very efficient. Unfortunately, we have almost every day now an incident like this, maybe not in terms of numbers of people killed, but certainly in terms of incidents.
How far could this go? How much of a threat are they to the government's survival?
I mean, right now you have probably 50-60% of the territory which is effectively outside government control. Only the capital, Ouagadougou, and the second city, Bobo Dioulasso, are kind of secure. And the government is trying hard. They're buying weapons. They made a military partnership with Russia, but they're not very successful. Also, when the army attacks, human rights groups report a lot of, civilian victims, which is kind of fueling this, insurgency. People get angry again, they join jihadists, so it all over starts again.
And are we seeing a similar situation in Niger, in Mali? Are we seeing a surge of armed groups taking control of territory from governments?
Yeah, I mean, Mali and Niger have similar problems, but their countries are much bigger. So it's often in Mali or Niger in the middle of the desert, far away from settlements. Burkina Faso is the smallest of the three countries, very densely populated. So the conflict is always very brutal. Whenever the army attacks or jihadist attacks, you have a lot of civilian, being reported killed, and many more, civilian victims. That makes it so brutal and also so difficult to fight because you can't avoid settlements.
Western powers like France were there for years. Now, Russia is promising to increase military assistance. Do you think they can fill the void?
I'm not really sure. I mean, the French had in the whole Sahel at its peak more than 5,000 soldiers. It was already not really enough for, vast space, which is not often, sparsely populated, difficult to control. And, and maybe there's 300 Russians now in Burkina Faso. They're bringing, equipment, weapons, but training soldiers. But I don't think they will be more successful than French. There's anyway no military solution. At some point, there need to be some political talks going on. Just killing and killing won't lead us to peace.
Burkina Faso's humanitarian crisis is something that's topped the list of neglected crises in the world on some of the organization's lists. What does this mean for the millions of people displaced and on the verge of starvation?
Yeah, there are maybe 2 million people displaced, and it's difficult to get the attention of humanitarian organizations and the United Nations. First, I mean, there's so many other crises, Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, so that country is a bit below the radar. And often access is so difficult since you have maybe 50-60% out of government control. I mean, aid groups try to reach affected areas with helicopters from the capital, but it's also not very an efficient way. They can't do really assessments what people need. And that also with a lack of media coverage makes it really one of the most neglected humanitarian crises in the world.
Okay, thank you so much for your thoughts and analysis on that. Ulf Laessing from the Konrad Adenauer Foundation.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.